So in addition to the abuses and the scandals associated with teachers and Adidas specifically, there is also a context of what I call Advait or Dzogchen. You don't need a teacher today because the Enlightenment is already the case. So compiled or mixed up in this whole thing is also, and the fact that you don't need a teacher, you're already there, so just be that.
That's right. That is a pervasive idea that affects many people.
Right.
But worse than that, there is there is a very strong, what Adida called the talking school. He used the term self-guruing. All of that is pervasive. But I think that there's something else going on that's healthy. There is now a more sophisticated array of spiritual teachings that are informing a public conversation. People who are discussing spirituality, who've read, for instance, Ken Wilber, but not necessarily only, people who, there's conferences now on science and non-duality. There are non-dual psychotherapy. There's a rich understanding of very sophisticated dharmic ideas, and a bringing together of those ideas in a cultural context that has never taken place before. And out of that, something exciting is happening. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's an awareness. The people who are actively participating in this, the folks I'm interviewing on Beyond Awakening, everybody who's involved in this process is very aware that we're creating, that something very alive is happening through us. We're not the agents of the creation of it. I'm not. A greater force is finding its way. Something is evolving in this time that's very real. And this very often quoted statement by Thich Nhat Hanh, the next Buddha may be a Sangha. The sense that there's something in the cultural ferment of people actually engaging together and exchanging their best understandings. This is important. And so people are aware there's something real going on. So there are these false ideas, this self-guruing and this disrespect for the truly profound transmitter realizers. The Adida is of an order that it's incomprehensible to people. The profundity and potency of his realization and transmission. Very few people can comprehend any great realizer, and he's particularly extraordinary. Mm-hmm. So there's little humility. Like there is a point he made very often, that the greatest sin is to take the Sadguru or the great realizer as an ordinary person, to presume him to simply be another ego. Mm-hmm. Everybody's doing that. There is no mind that can see any teacher in any other way than that.
Just another guy.
So see, he may be a very far out guy, very talented, very, very profoundly spiritually genius. He may be this, he may be that, but he's still a guy.
Right.
The idea that he's not a guy is kind of a priori false in this larger conversation. So there's very little room to see another possibility. So all of those things are problems in terms of his being valued and recognized in a fuller way. Now, I think that he, this is where I am for a good long time, the organization I think was called the Free Daoist Communion, and I liked that name. So I'm still a Free Daoist. Sometimes it seems like it needs to mean that I'm free from the existing institutional requirements.
Yes, there is no God.
Well, free. I call them like I see them.
Sure.
And I don't as profoundly grateful and as much a devotee as I am, as much as I'm oriented and do not confuse myself. I am now a spiritual teacher, but the fact that you can use the word spiritual teacher to describe me and to describe him is just a joke to me. He's of a different order. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, we're in a time in which we need another function. I'm being called for good reasons by him, and one might say, to do a service that people need. And in fact, in this particular time, that's relevant and useful in a unique way. And there are a lot of things that can be said about the problems that have occurred in his work. His work should be widely read and consulted and profoundly respected. And the way in which it's small and not widely permeating the public conversation is in part traceable to his behavior and the behavior of the community around him. There are a whole series of choices that were made that put him on an island physically and culturally and in the noosphere. And that way that he has been sealed up, it's my prayer, my hope, my intention that my work will, in time, build a powerful bridge that will make it possible for the inestimable blessing that that all the things he's left behind, his writings, his art, his sanctuaries, and the community of devotees, who, I don't see those guys anymore, but I love them. They are my gurubhais. We are lit by the same flame, and in some sense not different.
Well, I just want to acknowledge the fact that you have the courage to associate yourself in some way, form, or fashion, and to whatever degree people interpret that as, with Adida, where other people are hiding the fact that they've been influenced to a remarkable degree of Adida. So maybe I want to go back to the course, which you're presently doing. Would it be erroneous for me, because I know the course that I've looked at does not associate itself with Adida, but yet the foundation, it seems like a foundational level of preparation, if you will, just for human kind of development.
It isn't. I owe it to my student that I not inculcate them into, some of them might think of Adida in a negative way, and they need to just get something that serves them, that doesn't draw them into a particular tradition. In a way, the advertisement, the promise of an integral spirituality is that it's universal, that it's non-sectarian, that it's not about going to, that it can draw from everything, but that it stands in a sense, in that humanistic tradition that I was raised in, that is, let's simply look at what works. Let's draw from whatever is true. And the integral attempt is to bring the most powerful and efficacious understandings and practices from the ancient traditions, the spiritual, but even the practical wisdom about how to live life well or how to eat the right diet or whatever might have been learned scientifically only in the last decade or whatever. Psychology, all of those things should be a seamless whole. And my course offers that in the best way I've ever seen it be done. It is permeated by siddhi because I have to give the deepest and richest gifts I can. Mm-hmm. So, I have a lifelong, dear, profound friendship with Ray Lynch, and Ray and I worked it out, and his music permeates the offerings in my course, and so it's full of the spiritual fragrance of the transmission that has enlivened my heart and awakened me insofar as I'm true and awake. And yet it is a step-by-step process that can take someone who simply is open-minded and willing to do some practice on a regular basis. It takes them step by step through the process of beginning a morning practice, of connecting to the contraction that tends to seal them off and leave them feeling disconnected, awakening to the good news of the good, the true, the beautiful, the free, the loving, the essence of what Adida called satsang, the essence of the reality of the onlyness of the divine as everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that that can brighten the heart and awaken the being, and living your whole practice in relation to that is the necessary foundation. It takes people into a very sober consideration of the lesson of life and death. It takes people into the process of establishing a morning practice of movement and of stillness. It has a devotional dimension. I usually talk about the mystery. So I'm talking about God. See, that reifies or can seem like a metaphysical imposition. I'm steeped in the understandings of integral theory, which intends to be post-metaphysical. That is not mythic, doesn't have to do with belief. So the mystery is a wonderful phrase because it doesn't tend to connote a reification of the divine, as if the divine is a something, but instead opens you into the disposition of wonder, which is a much more appropriate way to be relating. And I draw people into practicing in every moment and understanding the projects and the things that they really devote themselves to, the milestones, whether it's having a child or forging a marriage that works, or the different projects that make up their career, these milestones, and understanding how to engage those as a co-creative process with a higher power, as a gift that you're giving to something greater than yourself, as a process that transforms you, so that and understanding that your practice engages your body, that it involves money, food, and sex, that it engages your mind and your heart, your spirit, your soul, your shadow, your relationships, your citizenship in this world. And draws people into an awareness that we are living in a moment in which this 13.7 billion year evolutionary process in this corner of the universe is turning a critical corner. And we could have a cultural regression, or we could go on to turn a corner into something really quite glorious. And we're called by that larger process because evolution wants to keep evolving, life wants to keep living, consciousness wants to keep finding fuller and fuller expression in form. We're called to be a healthy human adaptive response to a critical moment, a bottleneck in the evolutionary process. And so I'm a call. I'm in some sense a revolutionary call. People take on this practice. They come into an awakeness to their own responsibility. There's no responsibility for the future of what happens in this place, except human beings recognizing their own piece of it. And that's a part of the practice that I teach.
Well, one thing I did look at was the course, and I was very impressed with it, and that's why I wanted you to come here and speak a little bit about that. And I do know, because of the time element here, that we could go on for a long time talking about the richness of your teaching and also the richness of your sadhana, and also the gifts that you've been given. So I'm kind of aware of the time, and generally this is a good period to say that if you have any interest in pursuing further any of Terry's writings and his blogs and his website, I'll put them on this interview here so you can follow them. So I would like to invite you back again to pursue some of the more in-depth areas that we talked about. But I think for this period of time, I think this is a good introduction. So I want to again thank Terry for visiting with the Beezone studios in Fairfax, California, and for our listeners and watchers for your kind attention. And I look forward to keeping in touch with you. So stay tuned, and we'll see you again. So take good care.
Thank you, Ed.